Russian forces launched a massive drone strike on the southern city of Odesa. 4 people, including a child, were injured. The city mayor reported that the attack damaged civilian infrastructure, including a children's clinic, a kindergarten, residential buildings, and cars.
It all happened around 22:30. Everybody ran to the building hall. All the windows were blown out. Subsequent strikes scattered debris all around us.
A densely populated area of Odesa with more than 500 buildings was left without electricity and heating. 14 schools and 13 kindergartens are also left without heating. At the same time, temperatures reached -6 degrees Celsius in Odesa during the night, stated Zelenskyy on Telegram. He noted that the strike took place just hours after a Russian-US meeting in Riyadh, where Moscow representatives told reporters that Russia does not target Ukrainian energy infrastructure.
Putin cannot be given any deals. We have to stand our ground and expel him from here. This could have been the same case as Ahmadid.
U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Kellogg, arrived in Kyiv. He was greeted at the train station by the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Bridget Brink. Speaking to journalists, Kellogg stated that his visit gives a chance for a good set of talks. In Ukraine, he will meet with President Zelenskyy.
We're going to listen. We understand the need for security and guarantee. Part of my mission is to sit and listen and say, okay, what are your concerns? Where are we at? We can go back to the United States, talk to President Trump, Secretary Rubio, and the rest of the team, and just ensure that we get this one right.
Following the statements by Trump, Zelenskyy said that it's important for him, for Kellogg, to walk around Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities and discuss with everyday Ukrainians whether they trust Putin or not. He also repeated that he would like to visit the front line along with the U.S. envoy.
I am ready to go to the front line with him. I will go. He can talk to the soldiers there. If the soldiers are ready to go home, to give everything to the Russians, to have no security guarantees, because they urgently need to vote, he can ask the people living and fighting here.
President Zelenskyy has the trust of 57% of Ukrainians, while 37% of them say that they do not trust him. These figures were shared by the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology on February 19th, after the US president alleged there was a low-level support for Zelenskyy in Ukraine. The statement of the institute says that they released the results of this poll against the backdrop of discussions on peace talks, the president's legitimacy, and the need for elections. The public opinion poll was conducted between February 4th and 9th. The method used was computer-assisted telephone interviews among adult citizens of Ukraine, currently residing in the country. A day earlier, talking with journalists at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, President Trump stated that Ukraine should hold elections as President Zelenskyy has an approval rating of 4%.
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, or essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating.
Trump, however, did not provide any sources to back up his figures. Responding to this, President Zelenskyy noted that those numbers came from Russia.
If someone wants to replace me right now, it won't work right now. If we are talking about 4%, we have seen this disinformation. We understand that it comes from Russia. We understand it, and we have proved that these numbers are being discussed between America and Russia.
The Ukrainian constitution prohibits elections during martial law, which was introduced after Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. At the same press conference, Trump continued to make false accusations, blaming Ukraine for Russia's invasion and not making a deal to achieve peace.
This could have been settled very easily. Just a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago without the loss of much land, very little land, without the loss of any lives, and without the loss of cities that are just laying on their side. Today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
Trump also added that the Russian-US talks in Saudi Arabia were very good, and Moscow, as he said, wants to stop the savage barbarianism. Additionally, the US president mentioned that he will probably meet the Kremlin leader Putin later this month. During a briefing in Kyiv, Zelenskyy stated that the US has helped Putin to come out of years of isolation.
I would like the Trump team to have more truth, because all of this definitely doesn't have a positive impact on Ukraine, but it does have an impact on the fact that they are bringing Putin out of isolation. I think that Putin and the Russians are very happy because they are discussing issues with them. And yesterday there were already signals as if they were the victims. This is something new.
Ukraine is open to signing an agreement on rare earth metals, but insists that security guarantees must be part of the deal, stated President Zelenskyy. Speaking to journalists at a press conference, he noted that the draft agreement brought to Kyiv by U.S. President Envoy Steve Witkoff was vague and clear in only one thing: Ukraine must give up 50% of everything on the list.
I am defending Ukraine. I cannot sell our country. That is all. I said, okay, let's have something positive. You will write down some guarantees, and we will write a memorandum with some percentages. I was told only 50%. I said, okay, no. Let the lawyers work further on this. Something was not refined there. I am only a decision maker. I am not working on the details of these documents. Let them work on it.
Talking about the US aid, Zelenskyy stated that Ukraine has spent $320 billion on the war with Russia, of which $200 billion was foreign support from the US and European Union.
In total, as of today, the United States of America gave us $67 billion in weapons and $31.5 billion was in direct financial support for our budget. There were some separate programs. Of course, we are thankful for all humanitarian programs. But you can't say that all of that cost $500 billion, so give us $500 billion in minerals or something else. That is not a serious conversation.
Earlier in an interview with Fox News, President Trump said that Ukraine has already agreed to provide the United States with access to rare earth minerals worth $500 billion in exchange for military assistance.